May I ask that we kindly take our seats. Your Excellency, the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya, Professor Kithure Kindiki, Your Excellency, the Cabinet Secretary, Dr. Musalia Mudavadi, Secretary to the Cabinet, Madam Mercy Wanjau, Principal Secretary, State Department for Diaspora Affairs, Ms. Roslyn Njogu, and Principal Secretary, State Department for Foreign Affairs, Dr. Korir Sing'oei. Ladies and gentlemen, Your Excellencies, let's give ourselves a round of applause that we have come to the end of the 19th edition of our Ambassadors Conference. Let's give a round of applause. And without much ado, allow me to welcome our PS, State Department of Foreign Affairs, Dr. Korir Sing'oei, to take over this program. Karibu, PS.
Your Excellency, Professor Kithure Kindiki, the Deputy President of this, our great republic. Your Excellency, Dr. Musalia Mudavadi, the Prime Cabinet Secretary and Cabinet Secretary for Foreign and Diaspora Affairs of the Republic. Madam Mercy Wanjau, the Secretary to the Cabinet, and my dear sister, PS Roslyn Njogu, in charge of Diaspora Affairs. Excellency, ambassadors representing this great republic, special envoys of His Excellency, the President of the Republic, my dear friends and colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, allow me first and foremost, on behalf of this entire team, Your Excellency, convey our very deepest appreciation to you for joining us on the occasion of the closure of this, our 19th convening. Your Excellency, over the last 3 days, we have not wasted a minute. Every minute of our being here has been spent well. From the opening ceremony presided over by the head of state, who is diplomat number 1 of the Republic, who in his electrifying speech elevated our consciousness with respect to the moment we are at and caused us to appreciate the centrality of his vision to transform Kenya on the basis of the vision that Singapore has established. But then, Your Excellency, what followed over the last 3 days have been absolutely engaging conversation. We have asked ourselves difficult questions. Questions around how do we protect our national interest? What is the place of our economic diplomacy? What is the role of missions in that respect? Your Excellency, we've walked the journey of national security in an era where the world is polarized and fractured and where multilateralism is fraying. And Your Excellency, we sat around, we had about 5 round tables. Different thematic areas were canvassed, and at plenary, we again spotlighted the question of the role of the diaspora and what it is that we can do to serve and position them better. Your Excellency, we are really grateful for the opportunity to gather these esteemed ambassadors on this occasion. And to hear your remarks would be a true honor. And so allow me then to request most humbly the Prime Cabinet Secretary to come to the stage and invite you to speak. Thank you, Your Excellency. Let's put our hands together for the Prime Cabinet Secretary.
Your Excellency, the Deputy President, Professor Kithure Kindiki, my dear brothers and sisters, good evening. And let me also acknowledge our friends from Equity, Moses. Thank you for being here to partner with us. You've been with us from the beginning to the end. Thank you. Your Excellency, I want to thank you for coming because for a moment we were worried that getting you out of the field could be a challenge. You know, there are a lot of things happening lately, and sometimes you have to light fires and extinguish them. Fire must be fire. So we thought that this would be a very good moment for you to come and tell us how you do it, so that these diplomats can also light some friendly fires in their stations. So this is so important for us. The President inaugurated the sessions, and it's befitting that you wind it up for us. But before I call you to the podium, there's something I've been trying to speak to, and it's simply what is the economic value of peace? What is the economic value of peace? And I'm deliberately talking about peace. I'm not talking of the economic value of an airport, the economic value of a road, the economic value of a dam. I'm talking about the economic value of peace. How do we quantify that? How do we package it? Because if there's something that Kenya can pride itself in, is to hold out and hold this very strong asset called peace. What does it take? What does it mean? Because we have now seen lately that you can have the best infrastructure, but if this asset called peace is missing, that asset ceases to give the value that it was intended to give. So ultimately, the anchor of all these assets then is peace. And on that note, I would like us to all be upstanding so that we can welcome His Excellency the Deputy President to make his remarks and close the session for us. Let's give him a round of applause. Ni fire, si fire.
Thank you very much. Be seated. I didn't expect that. I think PCS, you pulled a first one on me. This is the last place I expected the fire business. Excellencies, all protocols observed, our Prime Cabinet Secretary, with also the Cabinet Secretary for Foreign and Diaspora Affairs, all the excellencies here, PSs, Secretary to the Cabinet, ambassadors, envoys, and all colleagues. Speaking last, as a huge disadvantage, which is that people have been here for 3-4 days. They are tired, and they don't want speeches. They want the closing dinner and perhaps something else, but not a speech. But it also comes with a huge advantage, which is that the last speaker can get away with anything. Because everything else has been said. It's a pleasure to join you at this momentous evening at the close of the 19th edition of the Ambassadors Conference. Allow me to commend the Ministry for Foreign and Diaspora Affairs for convening this important forum, and to appreciate all of you for the depth of the engagement that has taken place over the past 4 days. The range of issues addressed speaks to the seriousness with which Kenya is approaching its place in a changing global landscape. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, His Excellency President Ruto, in his address at the opening of this conference, set out a clear and uncompromising direction for Kenya's engagement with the world. He challenged us to act with urgency. He called us for clarity of purpose and emphasized that Kenya must position itself deliberately within a global order that is being reshaped in real time. This evening, my role is not to revisit your deliberations, but to underscore the direction as provided by the President of the Republic and to place it firmly within the broader agenda of the government of Kenya. The central proposition from His Excellency the President is straightforward. Kenya's diplomacy must deliver. It must deliver economic opportunity. It must deliver security and stability. It must exert influence in shaping global outcomes. Anything short of this falls below the expectations of this administration. Going forward, our diplomatic engagement must move and be more sharply aligned with the national development agenda. The bottom-up economic transformation agenda is not confined to the borders of Kenya. It must be projected outward through trade, investment, partnerships, innovation, and the positioning of Kenya as a competitive and credible economic partner. During the last 4 years, almost now, Kenya has pulled some of the most consequential programs that have delayed our progress since we attained independence in 1963. And I want to say without any fear of contradiction that the gains we have made in the stabilization of macroeconomic fundamentals of our country is something to be applauded, and it's something that has eluded us for a long time. I say this because the current indicators of macroeconomic stability will be long-term, will not be short-term. We know there are both external and internal shocks, including global crisis like what we are having in the Middle East, but also internal shocks like droughts and floods and other things. But I dare say where this administration has placed Kenya's macroeconomic fundamentals is a place of near irreversibility. For the reason that we have found a way of cushioning our currency from erratic fluctuations that have always bothered us whenever there are short-term or long-term internal or external economic shocks. You'll witness for the last 2 years, our currency has stuck at between 128 to 129 to the dollar. That is not going to change anytime soon. It will not change. In fact, the projection from the Central Bank of Kenya is that any change, if at all, and it has to be minimal, will be to make the shilling even stronger. I'm saying this because we would have even done more on the Kenyan shilling, but we also have to balance the stabilization of our currency with other important national objectives, including the protection of our export earnings. Because if we don't control the stability of the currency, then we can have a sharp drop in export earnings, and that, of course, will have its own effect on the economy. Other than that, I want to give you the assurance that that indicator of macroeconomic stability is something we have been able to crack, and we are not going to reverse on that. But there are many other, or several other indicators also, which have worked well for the country. And again, we don't see ourselves going back to the unpredictable past. I'll give just two other examples in the interest of time. One is on national savings. Since 1963, we have struggled with a poor savings culture as a country. And one of the reasons why we have incurred a lot of external debt is a poor savings culture. And all these years, all these decades, we have been borrowing money from multilateral lenders, bilateral lenders, money which is savings of the people of other nations, which savings they end up lending the World Bank and other institutions, and that is what poor countries have been borrowing. We are almost turning a very important corner, because since 1963 to 2023, our NSSF, the pensions money, which is the money many countries use for their development and investments, we had saved 320 billion shillings for 62 years. They're coming into effect of a new law in 2023. For 2 years, by 2025 December, we have moved our national savings under NSSF from 320 billion saved over 6 decades. We've saved in 2 years an extra 370 billion in 2 years. We are now at 690 billion, and we are targeting by next year 1 trillion shillings in national savings. 3 times. In 3 years, we'll have saved 3 times what we have saved in 62 years. That is one of the stress relievers that you've seen of late, especially on our national infrastructure projects. We are now dueling the Rironi-Mau Summit Highway. We are not going to borrow any money. There will be no debt, and we will not raise new taxes. Part of the money being invested to build that road is money. NSSF has a big stake, is one of the big investors. Just to give you an example. So national savings is another macroeconomic indicator that we have cracked, and we are not going to reverse on that. Going forward, we'll be borrowing our own money without any threat of sovereign default and the embarrassment that follows nations that borrow to build infrastructure, which infrastructure gets externally exposed when there is a threat of default. Maybe one last example of macroeconomic indicators which we have resolved with finality. The foreign exchange reserves. In 2022 September, the foreign exchange reserves were at 5.7 billion, the lowest in so many years, providing an import cover of only 2.5 months. We have now, in the last 3.5 years, pushed our national reserves from $5.7 billion to a historic $14.2 billion US dollars, the highest reserves we have ever got in our country. Remember in 2022, if you needed some dollars, you had to book with a bank. I'm sure some of the bankers are here, they can witness, they can give evidence and testify. If you are an importer, you want to bring some goods in Kenya, you need to pay in US dollars, like oil marketers and other people. If you need $1 million, you are told we cannot get $1 million. We'll give you 20,000, 50,000. You book, and you are not sure you'll get them. Today we have more than enough. We have almost 7 months of import cover, meaning even if the economy was shut for 7 months, we can still continue transacting and running our economy. Those are just 3 indicators: the stability of the currency, national savings, and foreign exchange reserves. There are many other, about 6, 7 fundamentals of economic stability that we have been able to crack in an irreversible manner. And that is the foundation upon which we are building the rest of the economy on. Because if the fundamentals, the macroeconomic fundamentals are not right, it doesn't matter what effort you make in the economic sectors. The house will come tumbling down. So I am happy that we have made that major breakthrough, and now we are pushing on building infrastructure. We are pushing on social enablers like reforming education and health, where we've made some good progress. The housing progress is underway. The job creation programs are underway, both under Kazi kwa Ground, Kazi Majuu, Kazi kwa Mtandao programs, and now soon Kazi Baharini, which we need to unlock quite a number of jobs in the blue economy sector, international job market. So we are on course. Just to give you just an example too, housing program alone, right now we have 235 affordable housing sites, 500 market sites, and in 45 counties. And we have 630,000 Kenyans who are not working in 2022 who are now employed under that sector. And because it's a long-term program, that number will keep on increasing. We are targeting 1 million by the end of the year. And so under the public infrastructure, we are stretching the job creation agenda to 1 million. And then under the digital jobs infrastructure, I think there we need to up our game a bit. We are at 300,000. That sector can give us 1 million jobs very easily. And we are working to provide the enablers that will give us a multiplier effect. And the Kazi Majuu, we are now slightly over 500,000 jobs. We are putting pressure on all the agencies to push us to 1 million. And by the end of this first term of President William Ruto, we will have put close to 5 million young people who are not working in 2022 on the job market. Our missions must therefore operate with a clear line of sight between what they do abroad and what it means for the Kenyan citizen at home. Kenya enters this moment with significant advantages. We are a stable democracy and in a complex region. We are a leader in renewable energy and climate action. We are a hub for diplomacy, logistics, and finance, and our population is dynamic and entrepreneurial. These are not abstract attributes. They are strategic assets. The task before our diplomatic service is to convert these assets into measurable national gain. On matters of peace and security, Kenya's position remains firm. Our commitment to regional stability is anchored in the understanding that our prosperity is inseparable from that of our neighborhood. We will continue to play our role consistently, responsibly, with a clear appreciation of the evolving nature of the threats we face. At the multilateral level, Kenya must remain purposeful. We will continue to advocate for a more equitable and responsive international system. But we must also engage with the discipline required to influence outcomes. This requires coherence, sustained engagement, and the ability to build and lead coalitions. And by coalitions, I don't mean political coalitions. The government also recognizes the centrality of our citizens abroad. The protection, dignity, and empowerment of Kenyans overseas is not optional. It is a core obligation. At the same time, our diaspora represents a strategic extension of our national capacity, and we must deliberately consolidate our efforts to harness their potential. I am aware that issues of resourcing have been part of your conversations. The government is actively engaged in addressing these matters within the broader fiscal context. At the same time, we must continue to strengthen a culture of accountability, efficiency, and results across our missions. The expectation is clear. Every resource deployed must translate into impact. I emphasize that Kenya must engage the world with confidence and with intent, not as an observer, but as a participant, not reactively, but strategically, not cautiously, but with clarity of purpose. To all our ambassadors, high commissioners, and permanent representatives, you carry the authority of the Republic with you. You carry the expectations of the people of Kenya, and you carry the responsibility to deliver. I urge you to execute your mandate with focus, discipline, and unwavering commitment to Kenya's interests. On behalf of the Republic of Kenya and the government of Kenya, and on behalf of His Excellency the President, the head of state and government, I want to thank you, diplomats, for the work you do for our nation, for projecting our country well out there, and for making sure that our nation remains entrenched as an important anchor state, not just for this region, but also as an important interlocutor in the ever-changing affairs of this world. And to contextualize the President's challenge to us when he opened this conference, I have talked about what we are doing and what we've done so far to rectify the economic fundamentals on which the economy is built. And I've indicated how far we've come. But I've also said that we are now deliberately working on the building blocks of our economy, physical infrastructure. I think the President spoke to it, what we've done and what we want to do in the days ahead about our roads, our railways, our seaports, our international airport. Because logistics, transport, and trade facilitation infrastructure is key to our next leap into a first world economy. Just to emphasize again, we do not have enough power. We've done so well in terms of household connectivity. Currently, roughly 70%, one of the highest connectivity rates in Africa. Some of our peers on this continent are at 18%, 20%. We are at 70%. We are on course. In the next 3 years, we will achieve universal household connectivity. Because today, as we speak, we are at 10.3 million households out of 15.4 million households. We intend to do 1 million households per year, and we will cover the balance in the next 3-4 years. But our power is not enough to power our industrialization. And that's why the production of 10,000 megawatts of electricity is important. But we also know we need to transform certain economic sectors like agriculture, move away from rain-fed agriculture to water harvesting, put an additional 2.5 million acres under irrigation in the next 7 years, build 50 mega dams, the size of Thwake, the size of the High Grand Falls, the proposed High Grand Falls Dam, 50 like those, 200 medium-sized dams, and 1,000 small dams to harvest enough water, put an additional 2.5 million acres under irrigation, do value addition, and the industries will be powered by the energy we now want to increase our capacity. Third way, plus what we are doing, 28,000 kilometers of new roads in the next 7 years. Between 1963 and now, we have done 20,000. In the next 7 years, we want to do 28,000. Out of which 2,500 kilometers will be dual carriageways. The railway is now being extended to the border with Uganda as we speak. We are putting up a new airport. All these factors, the transformation in the agricultural sector, the industrialization program, the energy program, and the public infrastructure program is what we are looking at to take us to the next level. But we also need the enablers of this grand infrastructure plan, the social enablers. That's why we are very keen on universal health cover, because you need a healthy population. We have moved this nation in the last 4 years from a country where only 7 million Kenyans had access to some form of medical cover, public medical insurance cover. We've moved from 7 million under NHIF in 2022 to this morning, 30.2 million Kenyans. Phenomenal. We are moving towards universality. By end of this year, we are targeting between 40 and 45 million Kenyans under UHC. We know it is not perfect. We are fine-tuning so that it can be better and better. We are working on medical commodities supply chain. We are working on placing equipment in hospitals, especially level 2, 3, and 4. We are working on the referral system. We are working on the actuarials to make sure that the actuarials, the premiums that are paid, are commensurate with running a huge program like that. Tell me which country has tried an ambitious public health insurance program equivalent to what we have at the moment. You will not find, even among the developed world. It's not an easy thing. So we are moving towards universality, and we are on the road there. Education, that's why we are very keen in perfecting the CBC curriculum, ensuring smooth transition. We have employed teachers. We had a gap of 116,000 teachers. We have already done 100,000. We will close this gap. We built 23,000 classrooms, 1,600 laboratories. We have also relooked at the tertiary education system introduced modularization so that you don't have to stay in a TVET for 3.5 years to get your diploma. If you're an artisan and you have some little time, you go and do one module, you continue with your Juakali business. When you get some more time, you go back, you do another module until you accumulate enough modules to get your diploma. And because of modularization and 2 other policy interventions we have made in that space, the dual training policy and the recognition of prior learning, those 3 policy interventions have pushed the enrollment of TVET from 297,000 students in 2022 September to currently 720,000 students. Because you cannot have an economy where there are more students in the university than in the TVETs. It should be the other way around. So we are making deliberate reforms in education. We've changed the university funding model. We have increased the education budget. I see people commenting about our commitment to our education agenda. Education is a major enabler to our vision to go to the first world economy. We have moved the funding of education from 500 billion in 2022. This year, 2026, 2027, we are putting 765 billion in that sector. And so on and so on. I've talked about the teachers, the tutors in TVET, and so many other reforms that we are doing in that space of education. Because education is an enabler, health is an enabler. We will remain with another enabler, 2 enablers. One is going to be the role of technology, especially ICT technology. And we need to do better than we are doing. I know we've done 30,000 kilometers of fiber optic. We have put up 382 ICT hubs in Gitume labs and this ICT infrastructure. They are not enough. Our commitment was 1,450. We have done 382. They are complete. Another 400 hubs are under construction. We are slightly behind schedule. We need to harness the place of ICT as an enabler to our first world dream. And finally, the software that will drive us there is going to be integrity. We must face corruption head-on, wastage of public money, theft, pilferage, misappropriation, wastage. We must cut down our expenditure, especially current expenditure, and invest in capital projects that will push our country forward and make those responsible for our resources to be accountable. Because integrity is the software that will drive the hardware we are talking about. I would like to end by supporting what PCS Musalia said about peace. That you can build great roads and railways and airports, but all that can come tumbling down in 1 week. Just 1 week of disorder. Those of us who were alert and about in 2007, you know what the 3 weeks of violence between December 30th and January 15th, 2007, 2008, you know the damage that was caused on the economy of Kenya by 3 weeks of riots. An economy that had pushed itself to 7% was reduced to negative 1% because of 3 weeks of riots. So peace is priceless. It's an asset that we must protect, and we must do whatever it takes to make sure that our country is peaceful, but also our neighborhood is peaceful, and the world is peaceful. Good people, I am very delighted to speak to you and to speak to the people who represent our country all over the world. We have a lot of hope in you. You are the biggest human resource asset that we have to help the world partner with Kenya. Because this transformation we are talking about, we cannot do it by ourselves. Why? Because going into the future, we will of course have a role to play as a country. But more with the kind of resources we need, despite the strides we are making, we need investments, we need capital injection, not necessarily from donor money or money from other governments, but private sector investments. For example, the dream to the first world, initially we need 5 trillion. We will not raise that, the entire 5 trillion ourselves. We just need to raise a fraction and crowd in private investments. And that's what we have started doing. Through the Safaricom partial disinvesture, and the partial sale of Kenya Pipeline shares, we are going to raise 350 billion, just those 2 transactions alone. But for every shilling we have raised through these transactions, we will attract 10 shillings from private sector, because we'll have assured the private sector, if we are putting that money to build a road or a railway or an airport, we just need to invest 10%, 90% will come from that confidence from the private sector. So you have a big role to play to project Kenya as a safe country, as an important country, and as a country on the move. I wish you all the best. And when you're there, please sell Kenya in the morning, in the afternoon. Sell Kenya on Monday, Tuesday through Sunday. Sell Kenya January to December. Sell Kenya forever. Okay? And if you run out of, after saying many things about our beautiful country, about its people, about the opportunities, about the peace, about everything else, if you run out of sale points or selling points, just ask whoever you're talking to. Kenya ni fire, si fire.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
It is now my pleasure to declare the 19th Ambassadors Conference officially closed.
Thank you. A round of applause to His Excellency, the Deputy President. Your Excellency will ask that you kindly remain on the stage. Your Excellency will ask that you kindly remain on the stage. Asanteni sana. Your Excellencies, may we rise to pay allegiance once more to our national anthem. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Your Excellency. Let's remain standing as His Excellency, the Deputy President,